Chapter 604 Rank 98. After 15 minutes, Hua Yuao and Tang Wutong's soul power suddenly rose to rank 96. In another hour, their soul power rose to rank 97. 2 hours later, they were rank 98. In less than 4 hours, their cultivations had increased to rank 98 with the help of the 2 ultimate Douluo. When they reached that point, Hua Yuao and Tang Wutong's hands were no longer holding onto each other anymore. Just like they had judged earlier, their Haodong power could no longer flow between them when their cultivation reached a certain tier. This was because it was too powerful. It was so strong that they themselves couldn't handle it anymore. It was only by letting go of each other's hands that the soul power circulating in their bodies would weaken. This would open up more places in their bodies to circulate the immense soul power of an ultimate Douluo. Although Long Xiaoyao and Yi Shishui transferred purified soul power into them, Hua Yuao and Tang Wutong only realized how dense ultimate Douluo soul power was when they received it. Their soul power felt completely boundless. Hua Yuao was well aware that he and Tang Wutong might not win against either one of them even if they teamed up. It was much more likely that they would lose. The cultivations of these two individuals were simply too astonishing. As his soul power got stronger and stronger, Hua Yuao's soul core started to gradually slow down. Hua Yuao only felt that his body was ballooning more and more. It seemed like it could blow apart at any time. I want to set a foundation for the establishment of your third soul core. You have a very strong foundation now. Your first soul core is in your brow, while your second soul core is in your chest. Your dantian is free for your third soul core to occupy. Next, your third soul core can only be space type. Furthermore, your third soul core has to be woven in an alternatively up and down pattern. Finally, your 3 soul cores should be well connected and well linked to one another to maximize their real power. I can't help you with the final circulation, but I can help you build a foundation in your dantian. In the future, what you have to do is link this third soul core with your other 2 soul cores. It's only through this that you can become an ultimate Douluo. As for how strong you will be then, I wouldn't know. I'll pray for you and Yuan from another world. Long Xiaoyao's voice appeared in Hua Yuao's spiritual sea. Following this, Hua Yuao sensed that the soul power pouring into his body by Long Xiaoyao had surged to his dantian. At the same time, some of it had separated and isolated the area above his chest. His cultivation is simply boundless. It's too powerful. An outline of small soul cores was quickly constructed. Hua Yuao's 2 other soul cores were isolated and felt nothing. The circulation of soul power in his dantian was the same as that of his brow area. Hua Yuao had never considered the problem of how to make 3 soul cores circulate in tandem with one another. However, it would become an important consideration from now on. Even though Long Xiaoyao didn't mention it, Hua Yuao knew that his 3 soul cores would bring him a lot of problems in the future if he didn't take them into consideration. Tang Wutong's body was also filled with soul power right now. However, she was in a more troublesome situation. This was because her first soul core was already in her dantian. Even though her second soul core was in her brow, only her chest could contain her third soul core. Her chest was where the soul power from her 2 current soul cores interacted. Her whirlpool-like soul power was generated there. How was she going to outline her third soul core? After pondering over it for a moment, Yi Shishui shared her thoughts with Long Xiaoyao. Long Xiaoyao had already helped Hua Yuao with his third soul core. After he heard Yi Shishui's words, he immediately stood up and came in front of Tang Wutong. He sat cross-legged in front of her and clasped his palms with her. He took the front, while Yi Shishui took the back. Tang Wutong was at the center. Long Xiaoyao said, "It's impossible for her to construct her third soul core in this condition. We can only put her in the same situation as Yuao before there's any possibility of completion. That's why we have to shift the positions of her soul cores." Yi Shishui couldn't help but laugh when she heard Long Xiaoyao's words. "That's a good idea. I didn't expect us to team up together to do something good one day. It's a great feeling. Let's begin then. I'll lift her while you protect her. If we can't succeed, there's no one else in this world who can. Even if we don't, there's no danger. Wasn't she right? Even DTN could only win against one of them. If they both fought him at the same time, he might not actually win." Tang Wutong's soul core in her dantian was slowly lifted up and gradually transferred to her chest. Long Xiaoyao's scales slowly turned blood red, while Yi Shishui's body turned illusory. Hua Yuao sat where he was cross-legged. He silently sensed the changes in his body. The soul power in both his soul cores was already fully nourished. His third soul core had started to form, but it was isolated. The power used to isolate his third soul core was a seal implanted in his body by Long Xiaoyao. As long as it wasn't removed, it would continue to isolate his third soul core. However, once it was broken, he had to immediately try to fuse his 3 soul cores. Otherwise, he was bound to die once there was any chaos in his body. Even though he had directly absorbed Long Xiaoyao's soul power, there was still a part of it that he couldn't absorb yet. As an ultimate Douluo, Long Xiaoyao's soul power was like essence. He had filtered out the elemental type of his soul power, but still transferred quite a lot of it to Hua Yuao. As a result, Hua Yuao couldn't absorb all his soul power. His body couldn't take it yet, not even though he was already so strong. This was because rank 98 was already close to the extreme, while rank 99 was the human limit. When he reached this tier, he fully understood the problems that came with great power. Hua Yuao's senses were becoming more and more acute. Every minor change that happened to his internal soul power was stirring. It felt as if he might blow apart and die if he didn't control his soul power well. The extra soul power was compressed in his dantian by Long Xiaoyao. It was where his third soul core was going to be. Hua Yuao didn't know how much soul power was going to be in his third soul core. He didn't even dare to use his spiritual power to check. He had to get used to his rank 98 soul power before he could gradually control it. He could only try to form his third soul core after everything was clear. Otherwise, if he catalyzed a war between his current 2 soul cores and his third soul core, he was the only one who was going to suffer. Whether it was Long Xiaoyao or Yi Shishui, they had never faced this issue with a third soul core before. They were only trying things out, but it was an experiment that couldn't fail. This was because the experiments were conducted on Hua Yuao and Tang Wutong's bodies. If they failed, the 2 of them would be wiped out. Tang Wutong's condition was gradually stabilizing. Even Yi Shishui and Long Xiaoyao felt that this was a little weird. Tang Wutong's passageways were very smooth. They didn't meet with any trouble at all. Furthermore, Tang Wutong's control was also very immaculate. She wasn't in any danger at all. Because of this, it was much easier for them to pour in their soul power into her. After Long Xiaoyao returned to Hua Yuao's side, he poured his remaining soul power into him. Hua Yuao's third soul core slowly took form. The whirlpool became bigger and bigger before it started to compress inward. Very soon, Hua Yuao saw a pure white entity appear. The reason why it was white was because it didn't have any elemental type. Hua Yuao had to give it an elemental type in the future. It was terrifying. At least this was what Hua Yuao thought. What if he failed? Of course, he knew that he could quickly make a breakthrough to become an ultimate Douluo after he absorbed Long Xiaoyao's soul power. However, without a doubt, it was much more dangerous for external soul power to surge into his body compared to the surge of his own soul power in his body. Of course, everything was relative. If he relied on himself to cultivate and form his third soul core, he would certainly face the issue of a lack of soul power. With an ultimate Douluo setting the foundation for him now, he would not meet such a problem in the future. Since he had already decided, he could only carry on like this. It was such a rare opportunity. To Hua Yuao, he wasn't very excited. Rather, he was extra careful. Time passed second by second. Hua Yuao was consistently sensing the changes to the soul power in his body. Fortunately, everything was proceeding very smoothly. The barrier that Long Xiaoyao had placed in his chest was very solid. It didn't waver at all. The soul power that was pouring into his body grew fainter. After that, it became weaker. Finally, Hua Yuao's body entered a state of calm when the last streak of soul power was poured into his body. As he opened his eyes, Hua Yuao immediately turned to look behind him. He only saw Long Xiaoyao smiling behind him. Right now, Long Xiaoyao was much more elderly than he normally looked. Wrinkles were all over his face. Yi Shishui was in a different state compared to him. Only a dim projection of her was left behind. Even her appearance was unclear by now. Elder Long, how are you? Hua Yuao hurriedly lifted Long Xiaoyao up. Long Xiaoyao smiled and replied, "I'm fine. Couldn't be better. During the process of transferring my soul power to you, I got everything clear in my head. There are no more regrets in my life. Shishui is right. I can finally leave without any regrets. The only person I've let down is your teacher. Now, I'm passing all my cultivation to you. I shall consider it my repayment to him. Go and do whatever you want. The Holy Ghost Church should indeed not exist in this world. Don't have any misgivings. You must quickly cultivate and control the soul power in your body. When you finish adjusting yourself, you can charge towards your third soul core. Remember, don't be anxious. The only path you can take is space. You can only complete your third soul core if you understand the profundity of space. Both of you need to complement and protect each other in order to succeed. I hope that both of you will become the first cases of humans with 3 soul cores. In that way, you won't waste the guidance that New Anne and I have given you. Yes, Elder. Huo Yuao respectfully acknowledged his words. He was both sympathetic of and inspired by Long Xiaya. However, he didn't fully agree with his methods. No matter what, he had aided the Holy Ghost Church's development for his own selfish reasons. His relationship with Yu Shishui. However, Long Xiaya was already on the brink of death. There was no need to continue blaming him for anything. Furthermore, he had helped him a lot too. Elder Long, do you have any last wishes? Huo Yuao asked softly. Long Xiaya shook his head. No, I'm about to leave this world. I'm finally free. If there's a next life, it'll be great if Shishui and I were just ordinary people. Shishui. After hearing his call, Yu Shishui gradually flew over. She landed above him, and her gentle projection seemed to fuse with his body. A gust of wind blew. Long Xiaoya's body flew up just like that, and seemed to turn into countless butterflies. Slowly, it turned into powder and dissipated. Only countless spots of light charged into the sky. There were black and golden spots that entangled with one another as they rose into the air. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong watched as these spots of light rose into the sky. Both of them bowed down. No matter what they had done in the past, they were already transcendent in this world. They deserved this respect. Moreover, they had also passed all the power they had left to Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong. In the future, whatever good deeds that he and Tang Wutong performed could be considered as helping to atone for their sins. Two ultimate Douluo, gone, just like that. It's unimaginable. I'm afraid Elder Sun is the only ultimate Douluo on the continent now. Tang Wutong said heavily. Huo Yuao smiled and said, don't be anxious. In the near future, we'll become ultimate Douluo too. Even though the process won't be simple, I'm confident with you by my side. Yes. Tang Wutong gave him a sweet smile. Her body's condition was exactly the same as his right now. She was even faring a little better than him. Yu Shishui didn't lie. All her abilities that were related to evil soul masters had disappeared during that massive explosion. The soul power of the radiant phoenix was also light type. It was fully compatible with Tang Wutong, which made the entire fusion process abnormally smooth. The outline of Tang Wutong's third soul core had already formed. To allow it to accept the space element, Yu Shishui only left a part of the light element inside her third soul core. This was to aid Tang Wutong in her control over it. I'm afraid we can't unleash our Haodong power in the future. Tang Wutong twisted her lips and appeared a little displeased. Huo Yuao smiled and said, that's because we're already close to the peak of this world. However, we should still be able to use our fusion skills. If you don't believe me, we can find someone to test them on. Tang Wutong was confused as she looked at him. She asked, find who? Shu Tianran? Huo Yuao replied, now that Radiant City is on alert, it's not the time to touch Shu Tianran. You've also seen it. He's too powerful. It's not good for us to be there right now. When we were still in Radiant City, Elder Long gave me a simplified map. I finally understand where the Holy Ghost Church's headquarters is. Before he died, the last words he told me were that we can deal with the Holy Ghost Church however we want. Headquarters? Where is it? Tang Wutong asked, astonished. Now that Yu Shishui and Long Xiaya were both dead, Zhongluo was the strongest in the church. Huo Yuao had already defeated him before he became a transcendent Douluo. Right now, it would naturally be even easier for him. Destroying the Holy Ghost Church was indeed of paramount importance now. Tang Wutong was a little excited as she said, what are we waiting for then? Let's go. Rank 98. She and Huo Yuao were both rank 98 transcendent Douluo now. Who was a better enemy for them to test their skills than the Holy Ghost Church? Both of them leapt up at the same time. They were still holding each other's hands, even though their Haodong power no longer flowed between them. They rose straight into the sky before picking up speed. They didn't need any soul tools now. Their soul power quickly circulated in their bodies. They were controlling the air. Two sonic blasts rang out in the sky before they both disappeared. Sun Moon Empire. Radiant City. Any discoveries? Shu Tianran asked. Juzi nodded and replied, we've activated everyone. We didn't find any clues though. The Holy Ghost Church's headquarters is too mysteriously located. I only know the rough location. According to Yu Shishui, the Holy Ghost Church should be moving, but I'm not sure what their current situation is. I've already sent the army to search in that direction. I hope we can find them. Okay. Shu Tianran nodded. He still looked very grim. Up until now, he still couldn't verify that Yu Shishui and Long Xiaya were both dead. Their deaths were simply too crucial. If they were alive and took revenge anytime soon, the Sun Moon Empire would be in big trouble. I didn't expect Ultimate Douluo to be so powerful. There's even a possibility that they aren't dead. It seems like I've really underestimated Soul Masters. No wonder Shrek Academy could be successful for so many years. This is the foundation of Soul Masters. It's a pity we don't have such talents or opportunities. If I wasn't hurt then, perhaps I might have stood a chance. But now, I don't. This time, if both of them are dead, I'm afraid Elder Sun from the Sea God's Pavilion is the only remaining Ultimate Douluo. I wonder when the Sun Moon Empire will have its own Ultimate Douluo. When that happens, we'll be really strong. Juzi smiled. She walked over and gently massaged his head. It won't be long before that happens. When your majesty rules the entire continent, will you still be scared that you can't nurture an ultimate Douluo, given the resources of the entire Douluo continent? Shu Tianran relaxed a little. He gently patted Juzi's hand and said, well said. You can go prepare now. I'll give you half a year's time, and the entire army. Deploy all resources. When we attack again, I want the remaining two empires to be completely wiped out. Your greatest enemy is also in the Dalu Empire. When are you planning to deal with them? Juzi's eyes turned cold, and she replied, I'll leave them for last. I want him to watch as his empire is trampled by the Sun Moon Empire's army. I want him to live in excruciating pain before he finally dies. Haha, good. Well said. Let him suffer in pain before dying. Shu Tianran laughed. Flying at high speed and controlling the air to propel oneself were two different concepts. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong had the same thought right now. At rank 98, they didn't need to drain their own soul power to fly anymore. They were completely relying on the air to move their bodies according to their wishes. As long as their bodies could take it, their speed was limitless. Even they didn't know how fast they could go. However, they felt as if they were moving thousands of kilometers in an instant. The scenery below them changed very quickly. When they passed through clouds, they would automatically dissipate. It was as if the clouds were giving way to them. From afar, Huo Yuao saw the mountain range below him and was astonished. We're here so quickly. We will be at our destination very soon. Wutong, our abilities are probably at the tier of an ultimate Douluo. Oh, how do you know that? Tang Wutong asked Huo Yuao curiously. Huo Yuao said, don't forget, we already have yin-yang complement soul cores. Along the way, I've been trying to understand our control of the air. We were already rank 95 transcendent Douluo earlier, but the feeling is different now. This means that it's not just our soul power that increased. We were enhanced. What can enhance us to such a tier? Only if we are ultimate Douluo. This also means that we are as strong as ultimate Douluo, even though we've not yet reached rank 99. We're even ultimate Douluo with yin-yang complement soul cores. Tang Wutong sighed slightly and said, I might have thought the same thing if it was before I met Elder Long and Yu Shishui. However, I beg to differ now. Ultimate Douluo have their own killer moves. They have their own understanding of this world. Perhaps our cultivations might have reached that tier, but we cannot consider ultimate Douluo before we develop our own understanding. That's why we must continue to work harder. We'll definitely be able to reach that tier. When that happens, the world will be very different. Huo Yuao laughed as he said, well said. I'll always be with you no matter what. We'll charge towards that tier in that world. No matter what, his cultivation was already similar to that of an ultimate Douluo. How could he not be excited? It was what he had been pursuing all this while. We're almost there. Let me check. Huo Yuao controlled their speed as he held Tang Wutong's hand. He slowed down. He had indeed been to this place before. The dense forest in front of him turned from dark green to pitch black. In the entire continent, only this forest had such a special characteristic. It was because this was the evil demon forest. Yes, the Holy Ghost Church's headquarters was in this forest. If not for the information provided by Long Xiaya, no one would have guessed this. In the Sun Moon Empire, the evil demon forest was like the great Stardo forest in the Douluo continent. The strongest soul beasts that lived in the Sun Moon Empire were in this forest. This included Evil Eye Tyrant King, ranked second among the 10 great savage beasts. Huo Yuao had obtained the 7th soul ring of his spirit eyes here. He had killed a 100,000-year Evil Eye Tyrant before he was discovered by the Evil Eye Tyrant King and barely escaped death. He was different from how he was in the past right now. This time, he might not be afraid of those Evil Eye Tyrants anymore. However, what he didn't understand was why the Holy Ghost Church had located their headquarters here. It was no issue for those powerful evil soul masters. masters. But what about the weaker evil soul masters? When they faced powerful soul beasts, their lives would be in danger. No matter what, it was good enough if he could find evil soul masters here. Without the protection of the death god Douluo, no one here could stop them anymore. When he landed, Hua Yuao had already unleashed his spiritual detection. It was like a huge web that engulfed the entire forest. Long Xiaoyao had only told him about the evil demon forest. He didn't specify exactly where the Holy Ghost Church was in the forest. When Hua Yuao surveyed the forest, he was very cautious. After all, there was a savage beast living here who was only inferior to the Tian in the world of soul beasts. It was best not to offend the evil eye tyrant king. It would help him avoid any unwanted trouble. Hua Yuao had once swore that he wouldn't kill another soul beast unless he was attacked. This was why he wasn't going to provoke the evil eye tyrant king, even though he wasn't afraid of him. His spiritual undulations continued to spread. Very soon, Hua Yuao found his target. He knew his limits very well during the surveillance process. Since the Holy Ghost Church's headquarters was in this forest, they would need resources. Furthermore, Radiant City was the core of the Sun Moon Empire. This was why their headquarters had to be closer to Radiant City if it was in this forest. The forest was fraught with dangers. To avoid any danger, it was best for the headquarters to be away from the core region. As a result, he was mainly surveying the perimeter of the forest facing Radiant City. And indeed, he quickly found a lot of people who were hard at work. They were too obvious. They were moving too many resources out, piling them up in a plot of empty land. After this, these resources were put into spatial storage type soul tools by specialized people. It was unknown how many such storage type soul tools they had. After the plot of empty land was fully filled, the resources were quickly put away. After that, they started to move resources once again. Hua Yuao's first guess was that the headquarters was underground. This was because all the resources were being moved out from underground. He moved his spiritual detection downward. Given his current spiritual power, seeing underground was not an issue. As he ventured deeper down, he was suddenly astonished. What kind of project is this? Below the forest, there was a construction that was similar to a palace. This underground building was more than 1,000 acres wide. It was made from granite and was furnished with all kinds of decorations, making it appear very elegant. There were around 1,000 people in this building right now, and most of them were busy. Among them, many were relatively weak, only having between 3 and 6 rings. However, there were still 100 to 200 people with rather strong cultivations. They were commanding the weaker ones, who were moving the resources. Hua Yuao didn't even need to check to know that he had found the correct place. Apart from the Holy Ghost Church, who else would be so wealthy? From the resources that were being moved out, it was clear that there were rare metals, mountains of gold soul coins, and valuable treasures. Their worth was immeasurable. Although their wealth couldn't compare to the Sun Moon Empire, they were still as rich as Shrek Academy. These evil soul masters must have stolen and robbed all these items. All right, this is great. If he could have verified this was the correct place just from these material items, Hua Yuao's suspicions were confirmed when he found Douluo and Fengling among the crowd of people. Nangongwan was also there. There were also many other familiar faces. This was the place. Douluo was watching grimly as his people worked. He asked Nangongwan, "Is there any news from the Supreme Elder?" "Not yet. She hasn't brought back news even though she left in the morning." Nangongwan answered respectfully. Douluo furrowed his brow and said, "The last batch of resources have all been moved. Our people are also back too. Once we transport this batch, we can temporarily seal the exit. We'll come back when we have the chance. This is the foundation of our church. We'll definitely be back one day." Nangongwan nodded and replied, "We'll definitely be back. Sect leader, when will we leave?" Douluo replied without any hesitation, "We'll immediately leave after we put everything away." Nangongwan was stunned. "Aren't we waiting for the Supreme Elder and Elder Long?" Douluo shook his head and replied, "No, she told us not to wait for her. I wonder what she's thinking. Since the Sun Moon Empire has already fallen out with us, why is she not instructing us to take revenge on them? Given her powers, how can they possibly stop her? I'm not afraid for her safety. We'll leave immediately after we finish packing. Our people are our foundation. We just need to escape and accumulate our power before we'll rise again." "Yes." Nangongwan respectfully acknowledged. Here, Douluo was the one in charge. Nangongwan could only listen to instructions. At this moment, Fengling and Douluo lifted their heads at the same time and looked into the sky. Their expressions changed slightly. Nangongwan and the other elders were slightly slower in reacting, but they also lifted their heads after a while. As titled Douluo, their senses were very acute. The huge pressure that had suddenly appeared in the sky certainly caught their attention. How was it possible for them not to sense it? They were frantic when they sensed the terrifying pressure. The origin of this pressure was also unknown. At many times, the unknown was the most terrifying. At Douluo's command, a barrier of light immediately rose, engulfing all the evil soul masters within it. The Sun Moon Empire wasn't the only one with linked defensive barriers. The Holy Ghost Church had been their national church for a long time. They also had their own ways of preserving themselves. In addition, this was their headquarters. The sky slowly turned dark. Huge clouds started to gather. The weather seemed to turn chillier too. "I'll go up and take a look," Fengling said. Douluo pulled Fengling back and shook his head at her. "They are not from the Sun Moon Empire. Soul engineers can't put this kind of pressure on us. There are very few people in the continent who can unleash such terrifying pressure. Send a distress signal." "Distress signal? Towards it?" Fengling was astonished as she looked at Douluo. Douluo nodded. In the next instant, a bright golden flame rose into the sky. After it burst in the sky, another beam of golden light shot further up into the sky. It burst too, and turned into a golden umbrella, which hung in the sky, only fading slowly. A beam of white light descended from the sky. It wasn't considered very strong. However, the expressions of the evil soul masters changed a little when it appeared. This was because the pressure that was being blocked by the linked defensive barrier got stronger. It was even much stronger than before. Before the linked defensive barrier could even stop the white light, it had already been penetrated. The white light struck down. Douluo was the first to retreat. He fled far away. The difference between the Holy Ghost Church and Shrek Academy was that everyone in the Holy Ghost Church only thought of their own safety whenever there was danger. They didn't think of anyone else. A boom sounded at this moment. It was as if the ground had been torn open. A terrifying explosion caused the sky to change colors. It was the Tang Clan Special Class 9 stationary shell, TIR. In the past, Hua Yuao had once used this stationary shell to pierce a protective barrier in the Sun Moon Imperial Palace. How could a protective barrier by the Holy Ghost Church possibly stop it now? After the barrier was penetrated, it didn't collapse immediately. The huge explosion that ensued happened within the region of the protective barrier. Even a titled Douluo had to fear a Class 9 stationary shell. It was the most expensive weapon in the world. It was an important reason why a soul engineer could be stronger than a soul master. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.